super excited to share this information with you. My name is Pete Metz, and I've been in Reading. I've been doing this now for 2 decades. I got in the business in 2002. I live right here in Shasta County. And I have a daughter. This is my daughter right here. She's 11 years old. And she's grown up fast and almost as tall as me. So if you guys have kids, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I love what I do, and I'm super excited to share with you guys how to purchase your first home. You know, real estate is an amazing way to build wealth for you and your family. And I'm going to show you some amazing ways you guys can really get into your first home and utilize first-time homebuyer programs and how you can actually get started doing that. So I wanted to share a couple proof cases. This is just a couple testimonials that I have. I'm going to share. So this is a client that we just closed on, and he said, "I can't wait to open escrow with you and your team again. Very professional, honest, hardworking. We really, really work hard. We want to make sure every customer that we help, every family that we help, we really work hard for you guys, whether you're buying today or whether you're going to be buying in 2 years from now. I want to help you along the way, and I want to help you with that journey." Multiple proof cases, reviews that we get. Kudos, Pete and his team made my first time home purchase a breeze. Got in my through the whole process delicately. Met the timetable as promised. Staff was delightful. Each individual professional. You guys get the point. So we have quite a few testimonials that come through every single week, and so the agenda that we're going to have, that we're going to share today, is the first thing is we're going to talk about is what is a first-time home buyer. I'll let some more people in the room. What is a first-time home buyer? The next thing we're going to talk about is biggest challenges. What's the challenges right now purchasing a home? What are the financial benefits of home ownership? Understanding your budget, how to understand how much you can actually qualify for. What's the process on getting pre-approved, and talking about closing costs. What's the cost? What do we need to expect if we're going to be purchasing a home? And then of course, we're going to talk about all the amazing programs and how they work. Shouldn't be more than a half hour, 20 minutes to a half hour. And if you can save your questions to the end, feel free to put any and all questions in the chat, and I'd be happy to answer those. As soon as I'm finished, I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions, and I'm happy to answer those for you. Okay, so what is a first-time home buyer? Well, by definition, a first-time home buyer is someone that has not owned a home in the last 3 years. So technically you could own a home previously. You just you can't have owned a home in the last 3 years. Now, you could also own some land. You could own land and still be a first-time home buyer. You could own a manufactured home that's not permanently tied to the foundation of the land, still be a first-time home buyer. If you're not sure if you're a first-time home buyer or not, don't worry. I'll be able to tell you right away if you qualify to be a first-time home buyer. So what are the biggest challenges right now when buying a home? Well, these are some of the challenges that I get every single day. And so prices are too high. It's really hard because prices are too high. Interest rates are too high. Mortgage payments versus rent is too high. Saving for a down payment is really challenging, and a lot of people think that they have to have a large down payment. It's not true. And of course, credit score. A lot of families are not aware that you can still buy with a lower credit score, and I'm going to show you and help you with that. So let's talk about prices being too high. Now, I wanted to share a couple things, a couple news articles that I found here recently. So this is one that I found, and if you read it, it says, for house sellers and buyers alike, this has been a winter of discontent, chilled by Himalayan mortgage rates, so rates higher. To the dismay of sellers, house prices are faltering. To the dismay of buyers, that's not making monthly payments any more affordable. Okay, this is a recent news article. This I went back to 2017. 2017, this is a news article. U.S. housing bubble in 2017 is no black swan because it's predictable. Now we're talking about, you know, the challenges that we're facing of prices being too high. Now, this article was saying in 2017 that we were in a housing bubble. However, in 2017, home prices appreciated 6% that year. We had the same thing in 2018. The media again is talking about a housing crisis, housing bubble. Why the housing market is slumping despite a booming economy. 2018, home prices actually appreciated 5%. Gonna let someone in here. So in 2018, home prices actually appreciated 5%. Same thing for 2019, housing market crisis 2.0. The jury is in for 2018-19. 2019 home prices actually appreciated 4%. So what is this? Why is the media constantly getting it wrong? Well, that first news article that I shared was actually written in 1980. So I wanted to show you a common theme with the media that actually portrays all the doom and gloom. If we all listen to the media, none of us would get wealthy at all because the media consistently gets it wrong. We have had this challenge of prices being too high going back years and years and years. And I wanted to share this because if we listen to the media, we're never going to get it right. So the big question that I'm sure a lot of you have right now is, okay, well, what does real estate, how does real estate actually come down? You know, a lot of families that I help, they come to me and say, hey, Pete, is now a good time to buy? I heard that interest rates are higher, interest rates being too high, that home values are going to crash. When are they going to come down? And my answer is, I would actually love for them to come down. I would actually be able to help a lot more families purchase a home if home values actually came down. The reality is it's not so simple. And the reason why is home prices do not increase based on interest rates being higher or lower. This here is the last 80 years that we've seen home prices since 1942, home prices increase or decrease. So 81-year history of home values. So all the way back to 1942, you can see home price appreciation. The green means the homes appreciated. The red means that homes actually declined in value. Now, letting some more people in here. Now, you can see here that we had about 7 years out of the last 81 years of home values actually declined. And I want to talk about that because we can also look at it a different way. This is each decade of home price appreciation. So here we have the 1940s, prices appreciated 129%, 36% in the 50s, 23% in the 60s, and so on. You can see all the way down the line. Now, this decade already, we're up 39% here for this decade, 2020. Now, why in the world are interest rates actually appreciating when, why are homes appreciating when interest rates are higher? This actually is a graph here that you can see of interest rates for every year since the 1940s. So you can see in 1942, we had a 3.75% interest rate and home prices appreciated 3%. In the 1980s, interest rates were at 13%. They climbed all the way up to 13%. Home prices actually appreciated 7%. So why is this? Why are home values increasing when interest rates are higher? This here is a more recent amount of what home prices have actually appreciated. So there's 5 different companies that track home price appreciation. So 2023 year to date home price appreciation through May. And so you can see here at Case-Shiller, they've actually been tracking since the 1940s home price appreciation, and we're already 5% for the year, on pace to do 5% appreciation for the year. FHFA, they track every conventional conforming loan amount all the way up to 720,000. And we're on pace to have appreciation of 7%, 10% for CoreLogic, Black Knight saying 5%, and Zillow saying 10% appreciation this year. So why is this? Well, the big reason why homes actually appreciate is not because of interest rates, but it's because of supply and demand. So we have to understand how many homes are on the market. That's our supply, how many homes on the market, and what's our demand? What is actually creating this demand for home price appreciation? The reason why I'm covering this is because it's very important for you and your family and any buyer buying a piece of real estate or buying in a market to understand how this actually works, because if we listen to the media, we're going to constantly get it wrong, and we'll never be able to start building some wealth for our family. So what is supply? How do we create supply in the market? So I'm going to ask you a question. If someone is selling their home, does this create supply? So does this create more homes on the market when someone sells their home? Well, the answer is yes and no. And that's because, let's say I own a home and I want to sell my home and put it on the market, but then I'm going to go and buy another home. I'm either upgrading, I'm downgrading, I'm relocating. I'm actually going to buy another house. So I'm putting a house on the market, creating supply, but then I'm also buying another home. Most people that sell a home do not go and rent a house. And so I'm actually also buying a new home, and that's actually taking supply off the market. And so it's actually a cancellation. So what creates supply? Well, the answer to that is builders. Builders create, and builders are the ones that create more supply in any given market. So when we're looking at if home prices are going to decrease like they did back in 2007, 2008, and 2009, what created this little bubble here? Why did home prices actually start to decline? Well, we can go back and look to see what the supply was back in 2007, 2006, 2007, 2008. So nationwide, this is how many homes were actually on the market. You see builders, they were building so many homes every year, and they were going crazy, building tons and tons of homes. And you can see the supply, we got up to about 4 million homes on the market in the US. Well, if we fast forward all the way to today, they have not been able to keep up, and they haven't actually kept the same pace as where they were. We actually only have 980 homes on the market right now today, or in this last quarter. And in 2007, we had about 4 million homes on the market. Now, this is nationwide. If we look at a local market for how much supply or how much homes are on the market, in Shasta County, we have about 650 homes on the market in Shasta County. Now, that doesn't really mean anything to you unless you know exactly what, on average, Reading has homes on the market. So on average in the summer from 2012 until 2019, we had about 12 to 1,300 homes on the market. And on average, our appreciation in Shasta County appreciated anywhere from 5 to 8% during those years. And so we had 1,300 homes on the market on average, and homes appreciated 5 to 8% for that year. So now that we know the supply and how supply is created, we know that someone selling their home does not create supply because they're going to most likely go and buy. What really creates supply is home builders building new homes. And we know that in Shasta County, we haven't really had a lot of homes being built in the last 3, 4, 5 years. So now we have to ask ourselves, okay, what is demand? How do we get demand that actually is the demand to purchase this real estate? Where does the demand come from? Well, the demand comes from first-time home buyers like yourself. Now, first-time home buyers, you don't have a home to sell. You actually need to buy a house. You're actually taking inventory away. You're taking away from the supply. And so what we do is we track, okay, how many first-time home buyers are there out there? And one of the ways we do that is we find out, okay, how many housing formations there are. What is a housing formation? A housing formation is when my daughter, Channing, she actually turns 18, 19, and she decides to go get an apartment on her own. Now, that will be a very sad day for me, but when she goes and gets her own place, she is creating a new household formation. Maybe she gets married and her and her husband live together, and that's a new household. So we can track this. We can find out how many new households are being formed every single year. So this graph right here shows us how many housing formations all the way back to 2004. And so we know that in 2007, we had a housing crisis. We had a housing bust where home prices actually declined. Well, how many housing formations were there? Well, you can see here, there was this many housing formations here in 2006, 2007. And how many home completions, how many new builds were coming on the market. You can see that we were way overbuilding there. We were building millions of homes. We're putting millions of homes on the market. However, our housing formations was very low. Not a lot of demand for the real estate. We fast forward all the way to today. We know the millennials, you may be a millennial if you're on this call, or maybe you're a late Gen Xer. I'm a Gen Xer, or maybe you're I think it's Gen Z, but we have a huge amount of population that needs to buy a home. The average age of a first-time home buyer is now 36 years old. And these 36-year-olds, there's many, many, many of them. And so they are more than how many homes we have on the market, which is why we have home price appreciation in Shasta County and nationwide. Homes are set to appreciate this year 5% for Case-Shiller, 7% for FHFA. And so you can see that home prices are still appreciating. And the reason why is because we have way more housing formations than we do the amount of homes on the market. This is a very local example of how many housing formations in our county and actually how many homes are being built. So you can see here in Shasta County, there's only 2 homes available for every 1,000 people in our county. Okay, not a lot. Year over year, the inventory, the inventory has increased 4%. However, month over month, the inventory has actually gone down 4%. You can see here the majority of the buyers are 27 to 35. That's your first-time home buyers here. There's about 23,000 first-time home buyers. Here you can see there's 183,000 in Shasta County. We have 183,000 people in Shasta County. In Shasta County, there's 66,000 renters. We know this because we get this data from the US Census that shows us how many homeowners there are and based on the population. So there's 66,000 renters. Of the 66,000 renters, 16,000 of those renters are able to purchase a new home. Now, this is the number of people in Shasta County that can actually afford to go and buy a new home at our average sales price. How many housing formations do we have in Shasta County? Well, we have about 2,200 housing formations. And if we know that there's a 64% home ownership rate, this other part of the graph here is all the homeowners. And so this is about 64% of our population are homeowners. And we know this going back 20, 30 years, there's about a 64% home ownership rate. So that gives us the amount of new buyers that are going to be buying new homes for the year. And then we can see how many actual homes are being built. Only 373 homes in the last 12 months being built. So we have way more demand than there are homes to be sold, which is why home prices are still appreciating. So that's kind of the basics of why home prices are appreciating. And so now I'm going to get into more of, okay, what does this look like for you and how do you actually qualify? So a couple of statistics here. Homeownership statistics. According to the Federal Reserve, homeowners in the U.S. had a median net worth of $255,000 in 2019 compared to just $6,300 for renters. This is largely due to the fact that homeowners have a valuable asset that appreciates in value over time. You can see this over the last 80 years. Building wealth. According to the Joint Center of Housing Studies in Harvard University, the median homeowner in the U.S. has a net worth that is 80 times greater than the median renter. This is largely due to the fact that homeownership provides a stable long-term investment and can appreciate in value over time. Lower housing costs. And so according to the Urban Institute, homeownership costs tend to remain stable over time. What that means is your mortgage payment will stay the same and rent prices will continue to go up over time. And so understanding your budget. So when we're looking at how much you can actually qualify for and what you're looking at for a mortgage payment, this is what you want to take into consideration. Calculating your housing and budget payment. Make sure your estimated payments, make sure you are estimating your payments correctly. You have your principal and interest payments, you have your property taxes, mortgage insurance, and homeowners insurance that all go into the payment. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I had a first-time home buyer, I had a family that came to me and wanted to purchase, they wanted to purchase a home, and they were super excited about buying. And they said, yeah, we want to buy for $350,000. I'm like, great. We can definitely help you get pre-qualified. So this family, I said, let's help you get qualified. And I got them qualified. And I said, do you know what the payment is for this 350,000? Or I said another way, I said, you know, what's your goal as far as how much you want to pay per month on this $350,000 home? And they told me they didn't want to spend more than $1,500 per month. Well, what happens is, unfortunately, like Zillow and Trulia and all these websites, they actually show what the estimated payment is. However, they don't actually show the property taxes, the mortgage insurance, and or the homeowner's insurance. They're really only showing the principal and interest payments. So if you guys are out there looking and you see a mortgage calculator, make sure you do account for the taxes, mortgage insurance, and also the homeowner's insurance in the payment. This family that I was helping, they were excited, and then when they found out what the actual real payment was, they got pretty discouraged, and I felt really bad for them because they were thinking they could that the payment would be about $1,500. In reality, that payment was, you know, at that time about $2,700 per month with everything included. So their numbers were a little bit off. So here's an example of some payments. So I did 250,000 and 300,000. Okay. So let's say you bought for 250,000, and I'm comparing this to rent. Let's say you're renting for $1,500. You know, a lot of families are looking to buy and move from renting to having a mortgage. Well, in this example, I'm going to show you what the difference is from rent to mortgage. So if you bought for, let's say, 300,000, that payment's going to be right around $2,300 to $2,500 per month for 300,000. And that's because it has your principal and interest payment here, your property taxes, here's your estimated homeowner's insurance, and then here's your homeowner's insurance, and then here's your mortgage insurance. Now, you may not know what mortgage insurance is. What mortgage insurance is it covers the bank and it doesn't cover you. It's an insurance policy that's for the bank. Let me explain. Before the 1930s, if you wanted to buy a house, there was no such thing as a first-time home buyer. If you wanted to buy a house, you had to put 20% down. There was no bank that would lend to you unless you put 20% down. Today, it's actually the same. No bank will lend out to any family unless they put 20% down. The only difference from then to now is after the 30s, they said, hey, let's create an insurance policy that allows a buyer, a family, to purchase without having to put 20% down. So they created this insurance policy, and this insurance policy gave the bank a guarantee that said, hey, bank, yes, they're not putting 20% down, but if they default, we will pay you this 20% if they default. And the bank was like, okay, I'm good with that. So it covers the bank, but it does allow you to purchase without having to put any money down, which is great. First time home buyer. So when you're looking at rent, with the housing payment, your rent payment would be $1,420. Let's say you bought for $250, your payment would be right around that $2,000, or about $2,300 to $2,500 for $300,000. Now, what does this look like long term? Because when you pay a mortgage, you actually pay down that loan. It's called amortization. It's one of the biggest secrets of real estate. They call it amortization. So let's go out 5 years and you buy this house for, let's say, $250,000. Well, if you continue paying rent of this $1,400, this rent is going to continue to go up, because rent in the last 5 years has increased quite a bit. On average, the last 2 or 3 years, it's actually appreciated about 8% per year in Shasta County. Rent has. You may have already experienced this if you're looking for a rental. So rent prices constantly go up. So if you go out 5 years and you're paying $1,400, in 5 years you'd spend about $92,000 with it. But this is a 4% rent increase per year. I only did 4%. 92,000. Well, if you bought for, let's say, 300,000, you're going to spend 142,000. Now, yes, I agree with you. That is much more than what you're paying for rent. However, let's take a deeper look at this, because of the 142,000 that you spent, 19,000 of that you paid down the principal or paid down the balance of your mortgage. And so you actually only threw away 122,000 from the 92. Now, I get this is still more than your $92,000 in rent. Keep in mind, this rent's going to continue to go up because I'm only looking at 5 years. Whereas your housing payment, we're assuming in 5 years that this is going to be the same payment. But remember, when you buy a house, you can refinance when rates come down, and you can get this payment lower when rates do come back down. And I do believe they will come back down. And so in 5 years, this home that you bought for 300,000 is now going to be worth 364,000, because we did talk about home price appreciation, how over time it does appreciate. And you can see here every single year. And because of the supply and demand that we just talked about, we do know that home prices will continue to appreciate. And so when we look at 5 years out, this is based on a very conservative 4% per year. This home in 5 years will be worth 365,000. And so your loan balance at that time was only going to be worth 275,000. So you're going to have $90,000 in equity. Now, I want you to step back for just a second and kind of take a look at this, because yes, you're all first-time home buyers. You're looking to buy your home for the first time. Now, what if you bought your first home and in 5 years you had this amount of equity in your home, and over that 5 years you were able to save as well per month and save up another down payment for another house? Well, you could turn around and start renting this house out, continue to build equity, continue to get your appreciation on this house. And you could take the minimum down payment on your second house is only 5%. So you save 5% in 5 years. You could actually start buying more real estate. And now you're starting to build equity in a lot of equity in your real estate, and start building a portfolio for your retirement. So this $300,000 home in 5 years, this is the appreciation right here. And a lot of families, they do say, hey, Pete, what if we waited? What if we didn't buy and we waited to purchase a home? And here's an outlook of if you waited. Now, a big question is, Pete, what if I wait for interest rates to come down? My payment's going to be lower. Well, yes, it could. That could be the case. And let's take a look at that. So let's say you bought for this $300,000, that payment estimated about $2,400 here. If you waited 6 months, interest rates went from, let's say, 6.75 down to 5.75. Let's say rates did come down. Awesome. You get a lower payment. That's great in 6 months here. Now, let's say you waited 1 year. You waited 1 year to buy your house. That payment still lower, $2,300. Waited 2 years, still lower. Now, look at what your home value is doing. That first year, if you bought today, that home's worth $300,000. If you waited 6 months, this is based on historical data. If you waited 6 months, that home's going to be worth $304,000. If you waited 1 year, that home's going to be worth $315,000. If you waited 2 years, you're spending $30,000 more in that 2-year period. But you might have gotten a lower interest rate. So let's take a look at that. So what I did for you is, okay, here's what you would save per year on getting a lower interest rate right here. 1,906 months you'd save if rates were to come down to 5.75. If you waited 2 years, you'd actually save about $115 on that payment over the course of the year. However, here's what is happening on the appreciation. You're actually losing the amortization loss because remember, you're paying down that principal and the home price appreciation. So it gives you the total amount that it costs if we wait. So I don't want this to scare you, because don't think at all that you should then go and buy a house right now. The most important thing that I could tell you if you're looking to buy is buy something that you can afford, and find something that's comfortable for your family that you love. What I don't want you to do is, just go out and buy something because you think that you're going to have a fear of loss. I don't want you to think that. I want you to find a home that you can afford and at a price that you can afford. But I do want to show you this because once you do find that house, I definitely encourage you to jump on that opportunity, because this is a long-term plan for you and your family. So what's the process? Here's the pre-approval process. The first thing, there's 3 things that you need to qualify to purchase a home. You want the credit, you want to be able to have the income, the debt to income ratio, which I'm going to talk about, and the assets. Credit, the minimum credit you need is a 600 credit score. Now, of course, the higher the score, the better your deal will be on the mortgage. With the higher credit score, you'll get a better deal. You can, purchase 100% financing with a credit score as low as 600. Now, if any of you on the call need help with your credit, I am very much willing to help you out. Absolutely be able to help you out with your credit. I can walk you through step by step of what you need to do to get that score up of where it needs to be. Okay, let's talk about income. How much income do you need to qualify to, let's say, for a $300,000 home? Well, we know that, let's say you buy for $300,000, today's rates, that payment for $300,000, it's going to be about $2,400 per month. Now, if you bought for that 300, how much income do you need to actually qualify for that house? Well, here's the calculation. Your mortgage payment plus your monthly expenses can't be more than 50% of your monthly income. And so 50% of your monthly income. So we can work it backwards. Let's say we know the payment that of the house we want, 300,000, the payment is going to be $2,500 a month. Well, we basically just double that. And if you don't have any other car payments, credit cards, or anything like that, then you would need an income of about $5,000. Now, let's say you have, it's really easy. Let's say your monthly income is $7,000 a month. 50% of that is $3,500. Well, $3,500, then you would subtract car payment. Let's say you have a car payment of $500. That leaves you just $3,000. If you have basically credit cards, then, maybe $200-300 in credit cards. Well, that's like $2,700. That means you could afford a mortgage payment of about $2,700. This doesn't mean that you're willing to go that high. All this is saying is, hey, this is how much I'll qualify you for. And of course, then you can determine if you want to purchase for up to that amount. The third thing that we look at from the bank standpoint is assets. So you want to try to have some reserves after you buy a house. So, when you buy a house, we want to make sure that you have maybe 1 to 6 months of savings in case an emergency happens. And, maybe you have a leak or something you need to fix, or maybe you just need to buy furniture for the new house that you bought. We like to see that you have a few months reserves in your account. So the more you can save in your bank account, the better. Even though you're going to do 100% financing, we still want to see some money left over after we give you the loan. All right, so what are closing costs? Closing costs. So this is basically what you can expect with the closing costs. Now, this kind of looks overwhelming. I get it. It's overwhelming to me, and I do mortgages. So as a lender, we're a bank, so we are required to disclose to you exactly what all the third-party companies are charging you. So we're the lender. There's only 2 fees that come from the lender, and that's these 2 right here. Everything else is third party. So you have the title company, you have the appraiser, you have the notary, you have the county recorder's office. All these third parties charge fees, and we are the ones required to disclose this to you. So you're probably asking, well, how am I supposed to pay for that, right? Who pays for this? That's a good question. What we do is we get the sellers to cover this for you they call it a seller credit. Seller, when you go to buy this house, can actually pay for all of these closing costs for you. Let me explain. Now, I kept these numbers lower just to make math easy. So this is how we get the seller to pay all your closing costs for you. Well, let's say you have a house that's $200,000. I know it's not necessarily realistic in this market, but let's say $200,000. Let's say those closing costs are $7,000. Well, if you offer 200 and you want the seller to pay the closing costs of $7,000, you ask for a credit. The seller says, "Okay, I'll give you the credit." That means they're going to give you the credit to cover all your closing costs, and that means the seller's going to get $193,000. You bought the home for $200,000. You got the seller to give you a credit for closing costs of $7,000. So that means the seller is going to get $193,000 because they gave you the $7,000 for your closing costs. What happens, Pete, if I go to make the offer and the seller does not want to give me the $7,000? It happens. It depends on the house and how popular that house is. Seller's like, "Nope, I'm not going to pay your closing costs. You need to pay them yourself." Well, then, of course, what you can do as a buyer, you can say, "Okay, fine, seller, I still want your house. I'm going to give you, instead of 200,000, I'm going to give you 207,000. And I'm going to give you 207, and then I still want you to pay my closing costs of $7,000. So seller, you're still going to get your $200,000. Seller says, "Oh, yeah, I'll do that. That's great. I'll pay your closing costs." Essentially, what we're doing is, as a buyer, we're basically just adding this to our loan in the purchase price of the house so that we don't have to come out of pocket for this amount of closing costs. Seller says, "Okay, the only thing that you do have to watch out for is that the home does need to appraise for the $207,000, which, it's about 2-3% of the purchase price. A lot of times, the home will appraise for that amount. We do get homes that don't appraise. The appraiser can appraise it for the real value of the home. And if it doesn't appraise, it doesn't appraise. But a lot of times this does work for the buyer and the seller. All right, so what are all of these programs and where do you find them? So every down payment assistance program that's out there, that's done in the US, there's actually hundreds of them. And there's so many of them. Every single one of them uses one of these loans as the main loan. So you have jumbo, and I'm going to actually notate this here. Give me a second. So you have jumbos. This is if you bought for more than 722,000. And then you have VA. This is if you're a veteran. If anyone's a veteran out there, definitely put your info in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So the VA loan is actually no down payments, 100% financing. It's actually one of the better first-time home buyer loans that you can get. And then there's USDA. USDA loan is another great first-time home buyer loan. This actually requires zero down, so you don't actually need down payment assistance for this loan because you're already getting 100% financing. Then you're left with conventional with 3% down and FHA of 3.5% down. So FHA requires 3.5% down, right? And so conventional requires 3% down as a first-time home buyer. So where these programs come in, the state programs, federal programs, there's all kinds of different programs that help you. They actually help you with this 3.5% or this 3% that you need for your down payment. This is how you can buy 100% financing. They're called down payment assistance programs. I actually have a whole booklet, packet that I made. It's about 35 pages, and I have about 13 different programs that are available that I write about. And I actually write all the benefits of these programs, how to qualify for them, what you need to qualify, the minimum credit score you need, the income that you need. I talk about the benefits. I talk about the drawbacks. Each program, there's like 13, 14 different programs I have in this down payment assistance guide. I'm actually going to email this to every single one of you when we're done with the call. And I hope that you get a lot out of it and you can basically see all these programs that are available to help you. Now, I don't expect any of you to be like, okay, I'm going to read all of these. I'm going to be like, okay, this is the one I want. Now, I know all of these programs like the back of my hand. And so what I'd love to do is basically the next step. If you guys got a lot of value out of this, I'd be happy to do a 15-minute call with you guys. And I can put the actual link here to schedule an appointment with me. But I'd be happy to take about 15 minutes to talk about your specific information, right? Each one of you is going to have a different situation than the other. And so I'm happy to take 15 minutes, even if you plan on buying in the next 2 years. If you know you're out, I definitely still want to talk to you. I definitely still want to help you and walk you through the process. If you think that there's no way, I still would love to help you and talk to you about what's available. Now, remember, I actually know all of these programs like the back of my hand. So once I know your specific situation, I'll be able to tell you exactly which program is going to be best for you. Okay. So I'm going to email you this free down payment assistance guide. I really appreciate you guys getting on this call with me. And then the last thing here is I'm very, some of you might want to go ahead and get started and try to get and want to get pre-approved right away. I want to share with you that there is no risk to any one of you wanting to do that right away. And the reason why is because we can do what's called a soft credit pull. The soft credit pull doesn't affect your credit. It doesn't cost you anything. I actually cover this cost. It's a $28 value. I pay for it. I pay it for you up front. And the soft credit check will be able to tell me exactly how much you qualify for and what's available to you. If you want to go ahead and do that, here is the link to, I'm going to delete these marks that I just put down. This is a link to my online application. I'm going to actually put the online application here on my webs in the chat as well. If you want to go ahead and apply, if you apply, there's going to be just a soft credit pull. There's no risk or harm to you. What it does allow me to do is look at a bird's eye view of your whole situation, and I'll be able to tell you right away what you qualify for and what your options are. So, oh, nice. Juanita, veteran there. Awesome. I love the VA loan, and I'd be happy to go over the VA loan with you guys and show you what that looks like. The VA loan, what's nice about the VA loan is You know how I was talking about the mortgage insurance? Well, the VA loan you see here, they actually don't charge a monthly mortgage insurance fee. It's the only loan that does not charge with zero down payment. So it's a great loan for the veterans. So I can't wait to share that with you, Juanita, and I'd love to help you with that. So I'm going to put the application here. By the way, if any of you have any questions, now is a great time. I definitely will stick around and answer your questions here. This is the link to my online application, or it's actually linked to my website. You just go to my website and click on apply now, and we can do that soft credit pull for you. Or if you want to just book an appointment, you can click on the first link there to book a free appointment. I'd love to meet with you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. Well, it doesn't sound like anyone has any questions. Oh, here we go. Are loans different for undeveloped land? Great question. So we can do land loans if you have some land that you want to purchase. We can do land loans. They do require a down payment. They don't allow a 100% financing for land from the big banks. However, what I should say about that is if you find some land that you want to buy the land, I can help you because most landowners that are selling land, they will actually do what's called an owner carry, to where you can actually buy it from them, and they will sell it to you. You'll become the new owner, and then they become the loan. They put a lien or for just like a bank would on the property. You become the owner, and then you pay the seller. It's called an owner carry. They can carry the note for you. And a lot of times you just negotiate your own terms. You can say, hey, I want to buy this with no money down. Here's the interest I'll pay you. You could do it that way. All right. So I hope that answers your question, Laura, or sorry, Ben and Tara. And then let's see, what's the FDA loan? Sorry, I meant USDA. Oh, USDA. So yeah, so the USDA loan is a great option. So I'll explain a little bit about this USDA loan. The USDA loan is right here, and it's 100% financing, and it is more conservative. It's a great loan. So I try to do the USDA loan as much as I can. There's a couple things with the USDA loan. USDA loan has income limits. So for a family size of 1 to 4, you can't make more than $90,000 for the year. For a family size of 5 or more, you can make up to 120. If you make over 120,000 for the family, then they won't lend to you. The second thing is you have to buy outside the city limits of Reading. So you have to buy USDA, you have to buy in Anderson, Cottonwood, Bella Vista, Palisadro, Shasta Lake City, Happy Valley. So any of those areas you could buy USDA, they don't let you buy with the USDA loan inside the city limits of Reading. If you're not sure, then you can go to the USDA website, and they actually have a map, and you can punch in the address, and it'll actually tell you if that property is eligible for USDA. Second thing with USDA, the third thing actually is with USDA, they're more conservative, meaning when I talked about the income of how to qualify with the income piece, double your income right here, 50%, the bank will lend up to 50%. Well, USDA will only go up to 41%. So they're a lot more conservative. So you have to make more money, or you can't buy for as much with the USDA loan. But since you're working with me, I can definitely help you out and show you exactly, what the USDA loan would look like, how much you qualify for USDA. I can definitely help you with that. Okay, let's see. What types of homes don't qualify for loans? Aaron, Hey, Aaron, great question. So for financing, when you're wanting to get any kind of first-time home buyer loan, any of these loans really, it's actually any loan that you get, conventional, FHA, USDA, they all have similar rules for the condition of the home. And that is the home needs to be move-in ready. And what I mean by that is needs to have a kitchen and needs to have a stove, and it can't have any health and safety. So as be move-in ready, meaning everything functional. Also, in addition, it can't have any health and safety issues. Now, what is health and safety? That can be subjective, meaning that it's the appraiser. Most of the time, it's the appraiser, or for a VA loan, it's a pest inspector, combination of appraiser and pest inspector for VA. To make it simple, is health and safety. So if you have exposed wiring, if you have exposed walls, if you don't have, if you have a roof leak, it could be a health and safety issue. If you have a broken window, it could be a health and safety issue. If you have dry rot, it could be a health and safety issue. So if you're looking at properties that are distressed and you're not sure, I can help you with that. I can say, hey, Aaron, this here is a question, maybe and maybe not. I can find out right away if a property is financeable. Just, typically we'll make a call to the listing agent for you, or I'll look right there on the MLS, or I can also see from the pictures. Most of the time, the pictures really, you can tell if it's financeable or not. And so the home just has to be move-in ready. Now, let's say there's some repairs that need to happen before we give the loan. I can help you with that too, because we can do what's called a escrow holdback, where we can, collect for the repairs. There's multiple ways you can do this on homes that need some repairs. Now, a lot of repairs, no. Some repairs, yes, there's options there. Hope that answers your question. Any other questions you guys have? Let's see. Is the current housing market similar to the market back in 2008? Hi, Delaney. Great question. The answer is no. I did talk about that a lot in the beginning of my presentation, and I'm going to go back here. I can send you the recording, but in 2008, the difference was, home prices go up and down based on supply and demand, and they don't go down based on interest rates. So in 2008, we actually had inventory, or the number of houses on the market were way more than what we have today, and our demand was way less for real estate back then as it is today. So now we have the opposite. We have way more people needing to buy a house. We have way less houses for them to buy. And so when we look at 2008, homes went down 12% in 2008. And you can see that interest rates, were about 6%. They were, interest rates came down and then they came back up, and this crash, we had interest rates actually went down and home prices were still declining. So interest rates do not determine the home's value, or if homes appreciate or not. Homes go up and down based on supply and demand, and that's why home prices continue to appreciate. So these are 5 different companies that track appreciation, and you can see here that we're going to have 5 to 8% appreciation this year. Last year we had 6% appreciation. It's a very different market than 2008, and the biggest difference is we have way less homes that we can sell, and we have way more people that need to buy than what we had back in 2008. I hope that answers your question. The other thing I would say is I go into more detail on that in the earlier, and I'll send you the recording and you can go back and look at that. Let's see, Aaron, I've heard horror stories of what the bank can do when you refinance, when the interest rates lowers and the bank decides to foreclose on the home, on the loan. Oh, the only way the bank, once you buy a house and you get a mortgage, the only way to um, the only way they can actually foreclose on the house is if you didn't actually make your mortgage payment. So that's the only way they can actually foreclose on the home, is if you stop paying your mortgage. They can't foreclose on the home by doing a refinance or anything like that. So I don't think there's any truth to that of what you were hearing there. Hope that answers your question. The actual rule is for foreclosure is you have, if you buy, let's say you buy a house, there's three, and you're not able to make your payments. There's after 3 months of missed payments, they do what's called a notice of default. They have to file that notice of default, and then they have to wait another, I believe, 120 days before they can file for the foreclosure and sell the home. So you actually literally, you have like 6 months of time to be able to get caught up on that mortgage or sell the house, or maybe rent a house if you're not able to afford the payments. It's actually a very good question. All right. Well, I really appreciate all of you sticking around and asking those questions. And if you guys definitely are interested in buying, I would love to meet with you. I would love to go over your exact situation, and I would love to have that 15-20 minute appointment with you. Feel free to reach out anytime, and we will hopefully see you guys soon.